Back over to the desk. 1-1 on the day, but definitely a stronger look from Cloud9 in that second game. And I mean, gotta love a team that knows that there's improvements to be made, but knows that there is a high ceiling for them going
Yeah.
on for Joshi.
Yeah, I gotta say, right, Cloud9, they should be aiming to win Proving Grounds. I think that they have, there's a tight race towards the top that they do need to prove that they are going to be coming out on top of. But I definitely think they're easily in my three favorites. I think Cloud9 have been looking quite good, and just as Destiny said, Game 1 was uncharacteristic from what I've seen from them.
And I like the goal of winning Proving Grounds. For the org, it has been since spring of last year, 2021, since Cloud9 have won Academy Finals. And ever since we've introduced Proving Grounds afterwards, I don't think we have Academy Finals anymore going into this year. It just goes straight into Proving Grounds as well. They didn't win Academy Finals in the summer of the preceding split. And then that was the last Academy Finals, which was won by Team Liquid. So, huge goals, huge expectations. But, this is definitely a roster that can do it.
Yeah, and I love to hear Destiny's thoughts too, considering that it has just been a month since him and King have joined in, and just that he feels that things are going well. They've improved a lot, and I feel like it does take that time and synergy for a roster to really come together. But the team that we're going to be looking up next has had only shakeups to their own roster. Next up on the day, it is going to be TSM going up against 100 Thieves. And TSM, Joshi, this has been a team that has gone through some things in the break wing. Let's put it that way.
Takeover in his lane, moisturized, vibing, having a great time. This is a team that has had a lot of changes, right? We got 3 people who we're still waiting for photos of to come through, and we will see how that shakes out. But they took down FlyQuest rather convincingly. They had a series up against Team Liquid, but when we say you're losing Team Liquid, like that is again not a very harsh thing to say. And so this is another chance for them to showcase what they're actually able to do. 100 Thieves is at such stark contrast to Team Liquid, right? Team Liquid is a well-oiled machine, but 100 Thieves, they just want to fight you. They just want to do it at 40 minutes. They are confident they're going to out-hands you, and TSM, I feel like with the experience on this team, if they can put together a strong early game plan, they can really put the hurt to 100 Thieves.
And while on the flip side for 100 Thieves Academy, it's not like the developmental pieces compared to Team Liquid is that much different. Will has had prior Academy experience when he came through for Dignitas Academy during the summer of last year, halfway through the split, and showed that he had a lot of potential, but wanted to finish out high school before coming back into the ecosystem. Tenacity was on the bench for the LCS squad. There was promises of potentially a showing in the LCS and any of the LCS games, but it never came through. So Tenacity is now back in the Academy system, and even without having to talk to the Academy talent coming back from Singapore, I knew that Tenacity would be the best top laner in the Academy split. And based on the games and the tape I've seen so far, he's kind of showing why that, guys, I'm too good for this league. Like, put me back in LCS.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves definitely has some strong talent on their squad, but also talent that they are developing going on forward, because that is one of the main goals here in Academy. And there's 2 players in particular that we wanted to be talking about specifically for this. First up, Joshi, let's talk a little bit about Will.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of players coming in from 100 Thieves that it is a very raw roster. You have a lot of players who are looking for opportunities to come through. While, yes, Will has played in the Academy scene before, he's kind of like in his rookie year, right? Even though it's been a little while since he was able to play in Academy. And he's having some really good games, and he's having some other games that are kind of asking us where the good games went. I feel like Will is one of these players that is doing a good job mechanically when he actually is able to set up some of these fights. But with how chaotic the way the 100 Thieves have played, Will is still trying to find that solidity that we knew him for in his previous incarnation.
Yeah, not the only one that we're looking at for 100 Thieves to be developing going forward, but we also got to be looking into the bot lane and look at Busio in particular. I mean, Busio definitely had some some of his own thoughts, Rafa, about his performance. But
Dude,
I want to know yours too.
Yeah, he talked mad trash to Diamond. He said, I'm going to be an LCS while you're still in Academy, bro. I'm that good, and I'm that hot of a prospect. But also, we've been tracking Busio's progress ever since we first encountered him on Polaris in the mid lane, which Spawn from Dignitas was also on during the same year. And he role swapped to support 100 Thieves next. We're starting up their second class in 2021. The proposition came forward from Papa Smith. He's saying, hey, Alan, I think you've got great potential, and I think you could really shine in the support role rather than the mid lane role. And over time, even on that class of 2021, he and Instinct were some of the shining pieces of a class that was kind of failing during spring before it got some roster changes, came through its own on summer. But Busio and Instinct were still some of the shining pieces. And now Busio, within his Academy debut year, has been shining as one of the best supports in the league. And that's a lot to say when you have someone like Ayla, who is rocking the top of the standings.
Yes.
But we gotta look at where he's trying to develop too, right? In his own words, he's trying to become more of a macro leader. He's trying to become the primary voice of a team.
Correct.
And so far, we gotta say, we're still seeing it in development. 100 Thieves, their macro is not there yet. But as Busio starts to get better at, as he starts to, herd the cats around into the correct pens, we will see 100 Thieves improve. That is where 100 Thieves, they're really focused on trying to make sure this player is good. He feels that's the next step. I want to see it continue to develop.
Yeah, the memes in the Academy system say that he is going to be the NA carrier, right, of the league. So he's got a long ways to go before he can appropriately take on that mantle.
He's got the hands. Where's the rest?
Well, we know our 100 Thieves is developing, but I just want to touch back on this TSM roster just a little bit more before we head into the Champion Select and who you're really looking out for and kind of keeping an eye on, considering there is some faces that haven't been here for the first half of Academy so far.
I mean, Takeover, right?
Yeah.
He's the only person who survived the roster shakeup. And I feel
other
like
than-
there's a very simple way of looking at it. You bring in solo, you bring in Anda, players who have had plenty of opportunities. They've been these LCS journeymen in and out of Academy and LCS. And Takeover, one of the pieces that is still here looking for his opportunity to continue moving up. And I think as we talked about earlier in the day, in a team that has so many strong players, Takeover is still the one that stands out as one of the big carries. He's been given the tools. He now has a team around him that's not a bunch of developmental pieces on its own, that he doesn't necessarily have to lead. He can focus on his own play.
Yeah, the Azir shuffle yesterday in the series that you casted with the magical, woo, that was clean stuff from Takeover. And it's
Like
even
Kangas, Mr. Clean.
And it goes to show that even Takeover, he even got the opportunity to take some LCS stage games for TSM during last split. And, if we're going to be quite honest, he didn't look bad. Like, first LCS stage game, he held his own. He was competing with some of the middle-of-the-pack LCS mids. And if you're someone that is going to be a prospect lined up in this TSM ecosystem for the future, if Maple is let go by the end of the year, Takeover will be ready for LCS by next year.
See, I was trying to bring this up so we'd talk about some of the new faces to Academy Summer 2022, but you two are just all aboard the Takeover train. You don't even want it.
Me is new. New.
Yeah.
New to Summer 2022.
That's fair. I mean, it's interesting to look at these players, right? Because they are the players who often get called up. They've had so many opportunities to play in LCS. They've had so many opportunities to play in Academy, and they still maintain that slot. And so, for me, when I look at players like Solo and Anda in particular, the question is, can they pull the Dokla? Can they show that you can teach these old dogs new tricks? Can they show that sudden market growth?
Okay. I like the references. I like the comparisons. We'll have to see, and maybe today we'll get a little bit of a look for that. It is time to head into our first match and time to send you two off to Champ Select.
Bye, Sierra.
Goodbye, Sierra. See you at the end of the game. 100 Thieves Academy taken to the Rift. This is, Josh, not only my first game of casting 100 Thieves Academy since I've been back, but also TSM Academy. And one of the things that I did hear about even while I was gone was that X Smithy was making his coaching debut.
True.
And I mean, I've been, back on the days of Vulcan. What was it? Vulcan Gaming, Vulcan Esports, back in season 3.
I think it's just Vulcan.
Yeah, yeah. It just Vulcan, because there was the roster with Psycho Sid, Man Cloud,
Zuna.
Zuna.
He's always right over the keyboard, right?
And he would always go for the big plays. Do you remember when he and X-Smithy swapped roles for a bit, where they're like, you know what, this is an Olaf meta, and we think that fits Zuna's playstyle of just rushing in. And
I respected it. That's old school. That's old school for sure. I also had a completely different memory, because yesterday we had someone on Twitter say that I looked like Doctor Strange. Shout out to Space Ghost. I feel like you're now in the mirror dimension, though, Mark. Once again, you're still there. All separated out there.
Oh, yeah, back in the
we
old
finally
timeline.
got it. I figured out what the reference we needed to make was. But as we look into this, we've looked at some of our developmental pieces. I feel like this is an opportunity for Anna to kind of get a little bit of his revenge, right? He used to play for this squad. Well, not the 100 Thieves Academy, but back in 2018 and 2019, we saw that he was playing for the 100 Thieves roster. And
Went to Worlds with them, too.
looked good, right? As it's this control jungler, this is an opportunity to showcase what he can do going up against Will, who's still trying to find some of his footing. He's performed well thus far, but I still credit that a lot due to the success that some of his laners have had. And now, with the Callista coming through, BMFX, again, looking to fight at the beginning of the game.
We'll see what support Busio decides to layer this with. A lot of the times you normally want to pair it with, as you called out, the Renata Glass. We've also seen a Mumu support be a good answer. But with Zeri being locked in for tactical, TSM already are propping themselves up in a range advantage the later the game goes on.
True, but it is a situation where it's range versus damage, right? Zeri cannot take these auto attack trades early in the game. You got to make sure you're poking out at a position that BMFX can't hit back. And let's, look at how Tactical has done since he's come in. He's been fine, right? A lot of the time that we've actually seen him play, his laning phase has not necessarily been taking over from a lot of these other lanes, right? When we saw that TSM were playing up against Team Liquid yesterday, Yan and Ayla were beating them up. And so, picking this relatively weak laner in the Zeri makes me a little bit worried for how they're actually going to be starting, because while BMFX is playing fine, Busio has been playing great.
He is looking to showcase that play once again with the Renata Glass, a champion that we know has been absolutely terrifying on the Rift. I want to immediately flag something else, though. It is that Solo has locked in Gangplank. It's a powerful blind pick, but Tenacity has gone up against some of the best Gangplanks on the server, and he's been able to punish. And so I imagine Milan is looking over on the Rift and saying, okay, Golden Glue, Grayson, what can I get?
What you got? What you got?
What can I play this game that I can completely run over this matchup with?
And I don't know if you noticed, I looked a little bit pained there when I saw Jimmy unlock the Corki, and he's played it a couple of times thus far, and it gives them great late games. But this is a player that we've had high expectations for. Again, most improved player coming from the PCS, had a decent career there. When you look at the other imports 100 Thieves has had, like Gamsu, like Luger, they've had very quick rotations from the academy scene up to LCS. And Jimian, I hope that we can see a stronger performance on this champion than what we saw previously. He's trying to show that he can play things that are not the melee Silas, not the Akali, and can still be a carry for this roster.
And TSM Academy are very well aware of some of Tenacity's go-to picks against the Gangplank. Already taken away, the Aatrox is one of them. And
here, again, looking at what Solo has been able to do, right? He is so good at a lot of these traditional melee, not melee, but AD bruisers. He's played a couple of the Aatrox games. He played the Gnar as well. The Gangplank coming through. The number one thing that I'm worried about is they got to make sure they take Tenacity's Tryndamere off the table. We've seen how a lot of people have been able to beat up Tenacity with this, right? Even Kumo, who we don't necessarily think of as a strong laner, totally beat up Tenacity there, and it is still on the table for 100 Thieves to try and pick up. I feel like this might be an oversight from TSM.
Trundle was the pick that they wanted to get rid of. 100 Thieves potentially reading the Trundle pick as a setup for the Poppy, as you don't want to have one tank line being completely subjugated by the Troll King himself. TSM, I imagine, want to lock down their jungle here so that they can keep takeover in the dark and give him the counter pick option.
Yeah, there's that. There's also opportunities to pick up this mid lane as well,
JK.
right? You already see the opposing mid laner in the Corki. They're going to be grabbing the Swain for themselves, and this is one of those interesting positions where in the mid lane, the Swain is already looking at a lot of damage and a lot of range coming through for 100 Thieves. So a lot of the ideal situations that we were looking at where we saw Swain picked up earlier, I don't know if those situations are as true, but there's a ton of healing coming through for TSM, and maybe Takeover can ignore all of that anyway, but the Kale comes through for 100 Thieves yet again. 100 Thieves are like, I don't care about the first 30 minutes of the game. We are playing for a late game. We have Corki, we have Kale. If we hit level 16, we win, and it doesn't matter.
We do not believe in your ability to close out the early game, and even if you attempt to do so, Will is going to be piloting the Lee Sin as the early bridge. His goal this game is not to make plays, it is just to ensure the TSM do not find the advantage early.
True, and as the Lee Sin comes through, we have seen Will. He's played it one time thus far, but we know that he loves playing this kind of play-making style. He's got the Lee Sin in order to get them a little bit of engaged, to get them a little bit of that bridge into the later stages of the game. But TSM, they pick up the Udyr, they threaten to out-farm him, and it's not as though TSM have a weak late game. If Solo gets far enough ahead, he just blows members of 100 Thieves up. And so TSM, they're looking at an early game and a mid game where they are going to be the ones running the Rift. And if 100 Thieves can weather that storm, I feel like if we get to 30 minutes, 100 Thieves just win by default.
Yeah, this Lee Sin matchup for, or this Udyr matchup for Lee Sin is really tough. You have mobility to escape from Udyr over the wall as long as you're not wasting your cooldowns, but if you ever find yourself in just a one-on-one against Udyr, he eats you alive. He stat checks you in every single way. And so Will doesn't want to encounter Anda in the river. He just wants to keep tab on his lanes as they progress out. And as you called for it, TSM Academy making sure that they do not get ahead in the first 15 minutes.
And so, this is another challenge yet again for Busio coming through, right? He's looking to be that leader. He's looking to come up with the macro plans for 100 Thieves. Right now, the macro plan is simple. Get us to 30 minutes and we win. But they typically just have a very simple game plan. We're all going to show up to every dragon. We're just going to fight every single time. And as long as we aren't giving up all of the dragons to start off the game, we're just going to win because you aren't threatening to hit us with the Dragon Soul. I'm expecting something similar to come through this time against TSM.
And thankfully for Will, he is not the only part of the map that has some early game agency. They did lock in this Callista for BMFX. Him and Busio, as you already called out, it's going to be up to them to combo and combine their powers with Will to just bridge themselves through the early game, making sure that they are on par with objectives as we will be getting ready to load up onto Game 1 between TSM Academy and 100 Thieves Academy in just a few moments.
As we start getting ready for it, I've been looking at Busio. He's been having a fantastic time. He's been leading the charge down in the bottom lane alongside BMFX, who is still, we're still kind of waiting to see if he's going to live up to the very high expectations that 100 Thieves had built for him, right? They were looking at him as somebody who has a lot of solo queue experience, who was able to get to Challenger rather consistently on a relatively low number of games, and based on, from what I've heard, the POVs that they've seen, they think that they can teach him to go to the next level. But we see glimpses of brilliance coming through for him, right? We will see those moments where we were looking at Spawn, where he could be really aggressive, but we need to see them more often.
All right, well, getting word from production. Game time is upon us. 100 Thieves Academy and TSM Academy take to the Rift for Game 1 right now.
There we go. And as we load onto the Rift yet again, 100 Thieves, we have to remember that this team has one of the winningest records we have currently in Academy, 17-7, putting them at second. They've won 7 of their series, tied 3 of them, and only lost 2. And going up against TSM, this new roster is 2-2. Again, 2-0 against FlyQuest, 0-2 against Team Liquid. And this is another test as Takeover. Little vulgar there. Little vulgar.
Ha 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 ha. Just flapping.
Yeah, that's definitely how I interpreted that too. TSM. TSM. They have to make plays in the mid game, right? They have the tools.
What you're going for.
Oh, not quite. Not quite. We can do a chant later if we start seeing them pop off. But they got to play around Dragons 1 and 2. They want to get those first ones because they should be able to get that relatively cleanly, I would expect, with the way that Takeover's ultimate is likely to interact. If they get the first one while Takeover is level 6, it should be very difficult for 100 Thieves to kind of walk in.
I'm also curious where Will decides to make his first moves, because we've already highlighted and predicated that Anda is going to have a thriving time just power farming because you have that innate advantage over the Lee Sin. Lee Sin's clear speed is... it's not terrible, but it's nowhere near that strong compared to the rest of the junglers in the landscape, and so
True.
it's... you have to pick your moments on this Lee Sin. You know, if the goal really is to just make sure that Jimmy and Tenacity don't fall behind, cool, but there will be windows based on how the lane state evolves for BMFX and Busio.
And Will, I mean, we definitely know he's been looking for more opportunities to be kind of a control jungler in a similar style to Anda. But, you know, for somebody who's been doing it for years, right, at least 4 years, we've known Anda has been this control style, right? He wants to prevent plays from actually happening, and he's clearing out much faster, as we would expect in the Udyr versus Lee Sin matchup. They both find themselves towards the top half of the map, and Kale, if you can just sit and auto-attack in melee range, you're still very strong early, and these are 2 melee champions.
Are you saying that we could have a 2v2 between Tenacity, Will, and Solo and Anda?
It's not off the table, but I feel like the big difference is that Solo has way more control over the wave.
Yeah.
Right? He has the range to play with the Q and the barrels. He has more effective wave clear than Tenacity does. And so it makes it a little bit difficult, but if Solo and Enda overplay, Tenacity can turn things around, and he really loves taking skill matchups because he's just confident he's going to win.
So far, making great use of the priority that you get as Gangplank in the early stages, but, you know, this was Tenacity calling that Gangplank card saying, yeah, I'm going to outscale you, dude, with this scale. You know, do all you want. And Will thinking about making a roam towards the top side of the map, but because Anda is here, it's going to prevent any measures of being able to gank Solo successfully, so he gets a full crash in, making Tenacity's life just a little bit more difficult.
And Solo choosing to stay up in the top lane. He's still got 2 corrupting potion stacks. He's still got a cookie to munch on, so he will be able to stay alive there. And despite the fact that Enda clears so much more quickly, Will actually going to be grabbing both grabs. We see Busio already moving up, and so that's some of the early game planning that has kind of been missing from a lot of what 100 Thieves game plans have been, and already paying off a little bit.
Yeah, Busio just showing great use of the priority. He and BMFX have already gained against Tactical and Mia, and are able to pay some love back to their jungler, making sure that he doesn't fall too far behind. The Scuttle Crabs don't give nearly as much experience as normal camps do, but at least will be able to keep up with Anda.
And that's something that we gotta look at, right? If Will is even with Anda in terms of farm, that is a win for 100 Thieves. But at the same time, the bottom lane, if Tactical and Mia are even or ahead of BMFX and Busio in terms of farm, that's a win for TSM. We see this lot of push and pull in the way that they're playing, and while TSM do have this big lead going up into top lane already, this is also kind of what we ought to be expecting from a matchup like this, where Tenacity just can't walk up.
All right, Josh, I'm not going to lie. I've never seen the Kale GP matchup before. Is there a moment that you can get Tenacity low enough that you die as Solo?
Yeah, it's tough, but I don't think Tenacity is in danger of that just quite yet, right? He's got the fleet footwork, he's got the door and shield, he's got the teleport, and while he's out of mana, both players are just going to back away, and Solo will have to decide, ooh,
Oh,
chicken.
yeah, I didn't even see that. We saw that Anda was counter jungling, but being so rude in just leaving only 1 chicken nugget, it doesn't allow for the respawn camp timer to come up sooner for Will.
But
So
I
it's
thought that was
just-
supposed to be the nice thing, right? You leave the last one in case somebody else wants it.
See, that's what, you know, normal IRL teaches us, right, Josh? But
Yeah, does anybody else want this last chicken nugget? No?
yeah, but it's rude for Will because now he has to be the one that resets the camp, so it spawns later, and it's a later timer where Will can get catch-up XP to keep up with Anda. So
different cultures for sure. But now 100 Thieves, they're the first ones coming out for the Dragon. They're hitting this, and TSM not going to be having any response at all, and getting the recall up in the top lane.
okay.
And so this is good for 100 Thieves, just grabbing the first bit of the neutral objective off the map. And TSM not having an answer to it. And I also want to point out the top lane becoming much easier for Tenacity because he is level 6. He can now hit the barrels from range. He now can challenge Solo and take a couple fewer explosions in those situations. So while Solo should still be okay in this matchup for a little while, now is when Tenacity can start being aggressive and play the style that we know he loves to.
Being level 6, also, despite being down in CS, he had enough money to cop some new Air Force Ones, dude. So now he's got enough armor to keep himself afloat against the poke from the parlay. And this is normally a power spike where it becomes almost damn near oppressive from the side of Gangplank, but Tenacity now has the confidence and the sustain to keep up with the matchup.
Yeah, Tenacity should be looking to take control of this a little bit more. But Solo not falling behind just quite yet, and they are trying to create situations of power takeover. Again, one of the players that we're looking at for TSM is kind of the main developmental piece that they still have. A lot of these other players are players that are kind of viewed as known quantities in the world of League of Legends, and I don't imagine TSM has necessarily picked them up with the idea is, I really want you guys to develop so that we can bring you to the LCS stage. This definitely feels to me as though TakeOver was asking something like, I want to have a team around me that I feel confident playing, that I can really focus on my own gameplay instead of trying to help players like Soul and Instinct figure everything out. And it's been kind of fascinating to watch that TSM have also sent Soul and Instinct all the way up to LCS to say that, no, we think they're ready.
And honestly, once Academy is done for the week, that is going to be the biggest thing that I look forward to seeing. And we already have realistic expectations, I think, is the polite way of saying it for how that's going to go for the TSM LCS squad. But I think it's good for Soul and Instinct to get LCS experience. I just hope for the best that it humbles them and it gives them something to be hungry for rather than something that removes that motivation.
True. But as we return to this game, Will looking to challenge Anda for this Rift Herald. Takeover is level 6.
Good control ward from Anda. Spots out a blind monk in the bushes. Anda burning down this Rift Herald. Jimian doesn't have package. And the rest of TSM, their priority, guarding it over. Will, fine Sonic Wave. Does he go for it? It is Anda that secures it, but a nice kick from the ward hop prevents Anda from being able to get into the pit and secure it. But for now, Mia comes in, gives him a little bit of healing resurgence, and Anna's able to speed on over. TakeOver is probably going to have the flash over the wall. Meanwhile, it's Tenacity that gives Will a boost, but it's still not enough damage. Anda finally goes down. It takes all of the effort of Boostio to flash over the wall to follow up, but Soul is able to clean up that one on the back half, and he's got Mia in his back pocket, keeping him up forward. Jimian able to trade one back, but TakeOver now looking for a revenge kill. Gets the flash out of Jimian, and BMFX? Is he about to solo tactical? It is close, but he still's got flash, and he's able to get out over the wall.
Tactical able to survive, but that's what we see, right? 100 Thieves, they bring everybody to the same place, and they just go for these wild fights, right? Who knows what battle lines are in a 100 Thieves game? Everybody's on one side and the other side, and things just go bish, bang, boom, and Jimian stopping Mia a second time on the backs. But the big thing here to look at is watch the way that Mia actually plays this Yuumi towards the end of the fight, right? You normally make fun of this character for not having a whole lot of mechanics, but he does everything he can to try and keep Jimian from actually getting all the rockets down. And while 100 Thieves, they take this game and they make it absolutely wild where there's no real sense of like where people are going to be fighting individually, TSM is a team that can actually try and stand up. You know, you see Mia tries to block a couple of the rockets there, but TSM is a team that has hands, and they can challenge 100 Thieves in these crazy fights.
Yeah, honestly, there's so much memes in the community about how Yuumi takes no skill, but like, I mean, being able to use the passive, the bop and block, to continuously refresh your mana passive, and just using yourself as a body to tank skill shots whenever possible. It's not something until I talked to Amelia, cosplay, a well-known Yuumi player, about it, that it's like, this is why there's actual skill expression that can be used in the champion. So just good to show that Mia is also demonstrating that as well.
True. And as we look at that, we have 15 seconds until the next dragon spawns, and TSM not going to make the same mistake that they did with the first dragon. They are already here, and a little bit low on mana, but he's looking for Will. Hello.
So, Josh, you know when we talked about how Lee Sin kind of gets sad whenever he has the stat check in Udyr? Yeah, when you have a Yuumi attached as well, you're even more sad. You cannot win that 1v1.
Udyr is a lot harder than Udyr, for sure.
True.
So, now I think Will looks to be recalling away, but TSM do not know that just quite yet. And Enda is just like, where is he? Where is he?
He's looking for it. And with the movement speed boost that Mia can provide to Anda as well, that is all the movement that Anda will need. He's waiting for his moment, looking to hunt down Busio. He's the one that doesn't have flash. BMFX, it would have to be a great Fate's Call to get Busio out of this one alive. There's a hostile takeover available, so watch how it is used. Finally, and it turns tail right onto Anda when he goes into bear stand. So it stuns, takeover, gives some time over to 100 Thieves. There's still Fate's Call available. BMFX flashes over it, and now TSM are forced to retreat because the rest of the reinforcements from 100 Thieves are coming in hot.
Takeover never got in range for his ultimate, so it ended up burning out.
Whoa, Will goes for it. Woohoo! Good night tactical. The resonating strike lands true, and it's enough damage to take him out.
100 Thieves, I mean, they're challenging with their hands once again, right? 100 Thieves able to turn around the play and take over with his 2 kills. Already has the Imperial Mandate completed. Never had an opportunity to get into the situation where 100 Thieves could go down, but they also have this package. Alright, so credit to Jimian. I was, again, very critical of him the rest of this week over when he was actually picking up the packages. He did the first part correctly, but for anybody who's watching, you do need to make sure that you use the package before the dragon dies so that it's up for the next time that the dragon spawns. Jimian's a little bit late with that, so TSM will have a greater chance to play for Dragon 3, and Jimian feels forced to make a play.
He's going to go for Solo. Boom! Uh-oh. And Solo doesn't have flash either.
He's dead.
He is cut off. Yep. Well, Solo, try to farm up as much minions as you can. He's on the run. This is the day that you... Oh, yep. No, he got caught.
Oh, we caught him. We caught him. No Jack Sparrow today. We have heard of this pirate. So, good job to Jimian, right? It's definitely a much better usage of the package than we've seen thus far. He's already found 2 kills for himself and is well on the way towards making this Gorky an incredibly difficult champion to deal with. And as we track the levels of players, Tenacity just hits level 11. Jimian very close to doing the same. We are starting to see the crucial members of 100 Thieves actually get towards the scaling benchmarks that they're looking for. In TSM, they haven't found the lead in this mid game. They are even as we get to the 14-minute mark and even slightly behind.
And this is how 100 Thieves have been able to leverage the one piece of their composition that had some early agency in the game. Through BMFX and Busio, the 2 dragons to their name, now there is a viable soul win condition they can play to, and somewhat accelerates the pace that TSM need to play at, so that not only they get outscaled by Jimian and Tenacity, but also the Ocean Soul being added on top of it.
And even more than 100 Thieves being able to play for the Ocean Soul, it's more that TSM can't, right? Like, if TSM gets every dragon from here on out, it'll be... What is that? It'll be 32 minutes by the time they actually can do it, and Will's not going to let them get there.
Uh-oh. Dragon's Rage. Boom! Roundhouse kick to the face. Solo still, even with a flash, does not get out alive.
So 100 Thieves, this is kind of their comfort zone, right? They are so much better at taking these late game fights, and if other teams aren't able to punish them early on, 100 Thieves are always going to be winning a lot of these late game situations. TSM, as a relatively new squad that has come together, while they have plenty of veterans, doesn't feel like they've had the same kind of plan making that we've seen from a lot of other teams with similar levels of veterancy. This team has come together too recently, and 100 Thieves match up very well into these situations.
taking full advantage of the state of the map right now as well. The second Rift Herald goes over to them. It is another turret added on the chopping block for 100 Thieves. Or actually, the first turret, my mistake for them, as I believe TSM were the first team to get... Dude, I'm having trouble reading this mini-map. Okay, yeah, bot lane. Yeah, I almost thought I was dyslexic, or just I couldn't see as well. Resolution not coming through. Uh-oh, and has speeding down onto BMFX. And he doesn't have a Fate's Call to save himself out of this one. And the rest of the reinforcements come in through. TSM keeping Will on the run. The flash is forced to be used. Busio tries to salvage it, but it's a little too late. Now he's the one that is forced to retreat.
That's another kill getting picked up by TSM, taking down BMFX, but there's almost a meme that I've been looking at where, like, this middle 10 minutes in 100 Thieves games kind of feel like it doesn't matter, right? And what I mean by that is 100 Thieves tend not to be very good at making these mid-game plans, and they will just show up to the Dragons and go about even in a lot of the fights that we're about to see coming through, right? TSM are on a lot of power spikes for their champions, and so they should be strong enough to kind of challenge 100 Thieves. And unless TSM like wins a lot of these fights all in a row, we're just going to get to where 100 Thieves have always been comfortable. And so while we wait and see all these skirmishes, unless TSM starts winning really hard, Mark, I'm kind of just mostly curious about what you've been thinking about the players that you've seen on 100 Thieves since you've come back from Singapore.
Wow, you're just gonna put me on the spot like that.
Yeah.
Well, I liked the little play from BMFX and Busio from the bottom side of the map. I know that I don't know all the context, but I was a big fan of Wixie, and so seeing him not on the roster again, I was a little sad. But BMFX coming in, there's a lot of expectations to fill in the shoes. This was a team that came through the lower bracket all the way from almost getting eliminated in the very preliminary stages of Proving Grounds, and they made it to Grand Finals, falling short of Team Liquid. So BMFX has quite the big shoes to fill as the new marksman, and so far, solid job in this game. Nothing stellar, but nothing too bad.
Yeah. So 100 Thieves are lining up, but remember, they don't really have like a great front line. Their engage tools are kind of inconsistent, right? It has to be Will finding this cool play and diving through, and they don't have the package, so they kind of line up. But I'm expecting TSM will probably take this and Will try and steal, but the big thing is they pick up the mid lane turret.
Oh, but great disengage from 100 Thieves despite TSM being able to brute force their way in. Jimian is the only one that falls for it, but 100 Thieves diverted a lot of their attention and focus towards the mid lane in the aftermath, being able to trade a turret for the dragon. This does decelerate the soul wit condition for 100 Thieves and buy some time for TSM.
But 100 Thieves got the mid lane turret, right? I mean, true. They lost a player, they lost a dragon, but they got the mid lane turret. And that's kind of what I mean, right? This is what happens almost all the time in 100 Thieves games. They will look to go vaguely even in these situations, and then we will kind of reconvene at about 28 minutes, right? Because TSM, let's go back to it. They are 4 minutes from the next dragon. They need 3 more dragons. It's 5 minutes after each of those. So that's 14 more minutes. Again, 33 minutes before TSM is threatening the Ocean Soul, and each individual Ocean Dragon, kind of irrelevant. Like, you don't actually care about them on their own. You only care about the 4th one that you can actually find. So, returning kind of to our players, right? We started our day with 100 Thieves talking about who we were expecting to see this development coming through. And I kind of want to take a look at, we talked about Busio, we talked about Will. I kind of want to look at BMFX, right? Because he is the solo queue player that we have been looking at quite a bit as somebody who hasn't necessarily lived up to all of our expectations. And when he is at his best, we see him really aggressive, trying to go for plays, feels enabled by Busio, and we haven't quite seen that in this game. They did a good job getting priority, but we should expect that as Kalista Renata versus Zerayuki.
And that definitely makes a lot more sense in why the priority was securing this Kalista for BMFX early on in the draft. 100 Thieves getting some time to equalize the turret score across the board as Tenacity is just farming on up to be that late game monster that is Kayle, especially when she hits level 16. Jimian also doing similar, has 2 items to his name, no mythic completed yet, but with the Ravenous Hydra, has the wave clear, so it just gives 100 Thieves even more time to stall for as we head into that point, which Now I know why we were in story time mode. Just
Yeah, we are still in story time mode for the next 8 minutes, Mark. I'll let you know that right now. 100 Thieves. I mean, they'll show up to the Dragons, but then they'll just fight over whatever the soul ends up being. And that is the comfort zone of Milan Tenacity up in the top lane, right? And
What's his
it's
last
kind of,
name?
I don't, Alexiano or something like that?
we'll have to,
I don't know.
We'll
So-
have to get a check on that.
I can take a look, but the big thing about Tenacity, right, is, you know, Buzu said this earlier. When we get into Champion Select, Tenacity picks a lot of fun champions, right? You know, I look at this draft and I say, if you just pick Tryndamere, Tenacity is going to run over Solo. It won't be close. But he picks this more fun matchup, right? He picks the Kale. It's a bit more of a skill matchup. He's confident he's going to win it, and he is ahead. We've seen a little bit of play coming through from Will. We saw the gank coming through from Jimian, but now that Tenacity is well in the spot where he can play it as a skill matchup instead of just an individual, like, kind of getting bullied or just having an automatic win, Tenacity is definitely having a lot more fun in this game, and that's when we know Milan really takes off.
Hold up. So
I'm holding.
I sorry. I'm not familiar with Kale builds. I'm always used to either on-hit builds or AP-oriented builds. Is he building an Infinity Edge? Is like crit Kale like the new flavor?
I mean, you can definitely go AD, you can go AP. It's Jimian, again, right? Like, nothing's happening. You can go either direction. I think the big thing that he's looking at here is he already has Corki for magic damage. You don't need to do more magic damage, and this allows you to take these auto attack trades in a way where you have more theoretical damage, but you typically have a little bit less sustain in your play because you don't have the Rift Maker. But if he goes for the Blade of the Road, not the Blade of the Road, the Bloodthirster right now, he kind of solves that problem. So the crit kill comes through. It does about as much damage, but it's just a very different damage profile in terms of what it brings. His last name is also Alexi, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what it looks like on Leaguepedia.
Okay. Well, you should add him with your pronunciation and see if he corrects you or not. I think that would be good content for the Academy sphere.
There's definitely some. My favorite one is Kang's pronunciation of Pretty's name.
We still have that clip on file.
It's a Tidis. Jimian, he did the thing. Let's go, Jimian. He's got the package at the right time. They're lining up, and they have control of this dragon. This is classic 100 Thieves, and TSM, they can try and come in, but who's their engage?
It's not about engage. It's about forcing TSM to walk into you, and then you get to use the package. Just trying to disengage from TSM, but you got to be the first ones in the pit if you're 100 Thieves. And right now, they're getting bullied away from the pit. It's just buying time for Tenacity to solo it up, and no one from TSM has any eyes on it. Great stuff from 100 Thieves. They've completely snuck the dragon without anyone knowing, and Jimian full sends it across the entire river with the package, and it has split off Solo from being able to participate in the fight. The only thing he can do is call down the orbital cannon and the cannon barrage of the fire. Solo's looking to clean up the pieces with the cat on his back, but only finds one before he is cleaned out in the gutters, and now on the run. Will looking for the Sonic Wave. Will it connect? No. Damn.
But 100 Thieves, they have gotten 3 dragons. They found a teamfight win, and because they get the teamfight win, because it wasn't an even situation, now they can hit the Baron, and it's not really of a contest from Enda. He has no flash. He has no way of getting into the pit. 100 Thieves, they have out-team-fought TSM. They have taken a very standard game plan, and they have made it work. And level 16 Tenacity, level 15 Jimian. I mean, this is just a very standard play coming out from 100 Thieves, right? Again, where's the front line? Where's the back line? Who knows? 100 Thieves thrives in these situations. They thrive when nobody quite knows what's going on, and their instincts are just a little bit better. Solo, I don't think he thought he got the actual kill onto BMFX. He was looking for more, but again, TSM, they feel like they need to play the situation very hard, weren't really able to get in, don't have the battle lines, don't have the engage, and TSM probably just going to lose his top lane.
Yeah, Solo doesn't have flash, and he knows that this Kale is online. Tenacity even playing with his food a little bit, taking out the barrel first before going in for the final kill. Who can match up against Tenacity? I don't think anyone at this point. Yep.
Nah, he's level 17 on Kale, on 3 items. Jimmy level 15 still. So, you know, that's the next thing when you get an extra... I mean, you double your AD ratio on how much your rockets do. I feel like we are very much in the territory where it will take a miracle for TSM to recover because 100 Thieves have scaled as players that are in their comfort zone. They're 1 dragon away, and in 3 minutes we're going to see 100 Thieves line up Busio. Well, he doesn't have the difficult plans. He can do this one.
Okay, well, this is the Hail Mary that TSM have to throw in. Tactical flashing forward just so he can lock down BMFX. Busio also falls. This is something that TSM have to do, and it's great that they pull it off.
They pull it off. Ooh.
Oh, Dragon's Rage through 3. It's a bowling kick, but Will still can't finish off Tactical, and now he's getting run down by Anda. He's got the movement speed, but Will buys enough distance away with the flash. Teleport coming in. It is Jimmy and Tenacity coming in hot. Tenacity has targets in his scope, and he's looking to take them out 1 by 1, baby. Red dot on the side of his targets. Anda's got nowhere else to run. Tenacity's got the movement speed. Anda's trying to dodge out on all of them, and Solo comes in for reprieve, buys him enough movement speed to get out.
But the important thing during all that crazy fighting, Mark, is that 100 Thieves, they get more objectives with their own players dead on the map than any other team I've ever seen in League of Legends. They lost BMFX, they lost Busio, and Tenacity, he got the top lane turret. Now Solo gonna try and pick up Jimmy.
He's got to hit this barrel. Oh, Jimmy. Ooh, that's a lot of damage, Jimmy! Oh, man.
You do not catch Jimmy in the side lane.
A new challenger has approached.
And it does. All right. Solo does not get Jimmy in the side lane, but look at this. They lost a member. They take more objectives with players dead than any other team. They get the mid lane turret as Jimmy goes down. They rotate down to the bottom side, and again, 100 Thieves, they are so good at playing with members down. It's crazy. It is absolutely ridiculous. And now Mia, firm handshake.
Damn it, Busio. You gave away the bait. Mia was about to walk in. Aw, that's a shame.
But he waddled away. Till the very next day. Wow.
I feel like Magical would really appreciate that.
No, we did it like 3 times yesterday.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely got in your quota.
Yep. That's nasty. Level 18. Jimian, I think he's level 16 now. Right, how does TSM, like, first off, get on top of Corki and Kale, and then get on top of both of them?
You asked nicely.
They probably don't. Oh, yes!
You asked nicely.
Maybe someone will unplug Tenacity's keyboard. Even then, I don't know if that's enough. He might be able to win with right-clicking.
There's other ways to get Tenacity distracted, but for TSM,
send him some Twitter pictures.
Yeah. TSM are going to have to find a way if they want to get back in this game, but 100 Thieves have all the pieces to knock down in this last team fight. And you know what? This is the play that they forced TSM into. They're forced to take the dragon, but that just opens up the front door for 100 Thieves to just walk in free. It is time to run it down into the base. Ocean Dragon has been taken, but the inhibitor will fall for 100 Thieves.
This is at least 2 inhibitors going down as 100 Thieves do line up. Remember, oh no, Tactical, what are you doing here?
Tactical was trying to look for the flank, but it's a roundhouse kick to the face that he receives, and Mia has no driver to be able to pick him up back from the catastrophe in the jungle quadrant, and Will is just keeping takeover here so that he cannot join his comrades back over in the base. BMFX gets the kite out, and a lot of damage from Solo, almost takes out Busio. The bailout is keeping him alive. Finally, he goes down, but good God, man, what a burst from BMFX with the spears being rended out of his corpse. Takeover and Solo, the last 2 members alive, can barely defend this base from going down. As you called it, Josh, the 2 inhibitors will fall.
2 inhibitors, it might be the whole game, right? Tenacity, Jimmy, and feeling very strong. BMFX down 4 levels on his top laner, but these turrets are going down.
Looks like 100 Thieves are going to call it off. They've gotten all that they wanted, decide to play it safe.
Yeah, they don't need to do anything further, right? We hit the 30-minute mark. 100 Thieves up 8,000 gold, got 3 dragons to 2. Baron spawning in 20 seconds. And they just have to dare TSM to come try and fight them, right? We've already seen TSM, they don't have the tools to get on top of both of these players. And again, 100 Thieves, this has been a very classic 100 Thieves game. Busio calling people out. Let's go towards the dragons. Let's make sure we can play these through. And then I feel like that has to be Busio as well. Towards James like, who cares if they get an Ocean Dragon? Just go mid. We get 2 inhibitors. We'll take a fight there where we don't have to funnel into all these choke points. And now 100 Thieves are forcing TSM to face check them around the Baron.
And do you really want to face check a Corki with package? Yeah.
Nah.
In the words of Matthew Cubby Samuelson, that's tough.
It's tough. So Jimian has total control, level 17, got 4 items completed on this Corki, full build already done for Tenacity, and now TSM, they're not even able to try and contest this Baron, right? Like 100 Thieves have played this exactly how the composition is supposed to play.
Jimmy, what you doing?
He's not even worried.
He's just playing with TSM right now. He's pulling them away, but great cannon barrage from Solo. Spots out that 100 Thieves are trying to get this one out, but Anda doesn't have flash. He's popping the Nos, but he doesn't get in range. Will probably will fall here. Got no way out of this one, but it's a quick ward hop over to the left. Tactical almost gets him out. The bailout giving him a second life, but it's not enough to keep him alive. But it's okay, because BMFX and Busio still get the kite out. Anda with all the freedom in the world. Jimian over on the top side of the map, fighting in his own world. Takes out a cat, looking for the Birdman. Takeover's got nowhere else to run, and it is Tenacity that says, game's over. I'm ready to go to the next one.
There we go. A bunch of teleports coming through as we watch Jimian walk all his way back towards his own base. But that's what we were looking for from 100 Thieves, right? They pick big scaling tools. They are always ready to go for the late game fights. And actually, this was probably the cleanest game in terms of the macro play that we've actually seen from 100 Thieves almost this entire season, right? They go towards the dragons almost every single time. They get the first one to put back TSM's opportunity of playing for these objectives. They ignore the soul because it doesn't matter. You don't need to take that fight. You don't need to walk into the team with no engage. You can go fight them elsewhere. And so 100 Thieves very cleanly taking this one down, showcasing why they've been our top 2 team this entire season.
And it's a good way to limit test the macro play from a very young team across the board here. When you look at someone like Will going up against an experienced player like Anda, there's definitely tendencies for someone like Will to fall behind, especially in a matchup where it is Lee Sin Udyr. When we saw this matchup in Spring Split, so many times the Lee Sin would have to do so much just to be able to fly to the spots where Udyr can walk to with ease, metaphorically speaking, right? But this time around, he recognizes where his points of leverage are in the bottom lane, get the first 2 dragons, force TSM on their hand, and that allows 100 Thieves to just buy enough time, bridge their way across the mid game, where then big boy Milan is online on the Kale, and Jimian is right there with him. But of course, we've got a break coming up. When we come back, it'll be our halftime show with Sierra.